All right, coming in hot today with a soapbox right out of the gate because, my sweet friend, I love a cold open. Like, just hurry up and get straight to the point. I've actually been looking at like a few podcasts to add to my like rotation of podcasts I love to listen to. And I put out like a call on threads, and a lot of people recommended episodes and shows, which I love. And I listened to dozens, but actually not really, because every single one, it was the most fruitless search because every single one has these like mega intros that I just have zero tolerance for. Like, if you're listening to a podcast episode for the first time and you don't know the guest or you don't know who the people are, like, there's not already some like trust in the host like established yet, right? Like, if it's like a cold listen, I need to be intrigued. Like, I need a hook. Like, I don't need the full overview of what the episode is going to be about. But my friend, if you ramble on for minutes about, I don't know what, it guts me. It guts me. It guts me because, like, need content that is engaging, that is intriguing, that challenges us, that makes us laugh, that's fun to watch, fun to listen to. Like, you might be brilliant, but if you're droning on for 10 minutes about what you're going to talk about before you actually talk about, like, just stop. Stop. And I think it brings up a lot in me because, well, for a lot of reasons. And I actually did like, this is the content I'm here to talk to you about today. Did I hook you? Did I do it? Good job? Or am I also giving you too much introduction? Who's to say? It's nuanced, right? Like, the heart of the issue is here is I think we tend to preference and explain so much before we get to the thing. Like, just get to the thing. Just say the thing. Be plain spoken. But like, let's lean into the nuance. Because I love a soapbox. Look at me right now. Soapboxing. I love a side tangent. I love all of that unfiltered nonsense. And it's good to include that. I'm literally doing that right now. But it still has to grab you. Like, it needs to be fast paced or intriguing, hilarious, interrupt a pattern in some way. And I think often the goal is to like leave somebody craving more. But instead, like, we try so, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, we're trying so hard to justify why you should stay here and listen and why you should hear what I have to say and why the work that I'm doing matters, that like we neglect to do the work. We neglect to say the thing. And I think there's so many applications into like our day-to-day life for this exact thing where, like, how often are we justifying our actions, our behavior, our thought patterns, like, in a way that, rather than just taking the time to recognize, no, this is the way that I do things, right? Like, especially as a Christian business owner or as a creative in the online space in general, or just as a creative, like, we tend to really qualify and justify and preface our work rather than just being like, here's the work. We spend more time focusing on the preface than on the work itself. And I think that pattern needs to shift. And so I'm not saying this because I'm looking for perfection. Far from it. But I am looking to be entertained, to be challenged, to be inspired, and to be delighted. And if none of those things are happening right out of the gate, then like, why stick around? And it's not just me, it's all of your listeners. So this is true for all of the kinds of content we create, whether that's a book or a Substack post or a podcast episode, Instagram content. Like, we like to blame the algorithm that it's like screwed up our minds in some way. And like, now we have such a short attention span. And that I think is in part true. Like, I don't know if there's science to prove it, but I assume that there is. Like, I don't think that anybody's arguing that fact. I'm certainly not. But I will say that we've we've also always been like this. We've also always been a people who crave story, who crave connection, who crave entertainment, who need to be challenged, who need to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. Like, we've always desired to be delighted. And I think that what the way that we're consuming content now, all that it's really done, well, that's an oversimplification. Anytime you bring up that content and then pair all that it's really done, like, that's ridiculous. So let me back up. What I do think, how do I rephrase this? is that this fast-paced scroll, this like dopamine hit after dopamine hit after dopamine hit, right, of doom scrolling has exposed those who are good at grabbing attention fast and those who aren't. It has exposed who is good at grabbing attention fast and who is not. And that is a skill that we can learn. Like, we can learn how to grab attention. We can learn how to start in the middle of the story. We can learn how to create intrigue, how to keep people engaged, and how to connect in a way that's where your people already are, and in a way that's in alignment with your personality. So, like, I'm not saying that if you run a podcast, you shouldn't have an intro. That's insane. You can absolutely have an intro. But, like, ask yourself, is this intro intriguing? Does it inspire? Does it help me get a high-level understanding of what's happening here without it prefacing too much? Like, am I focusing on explaining every thought or every foundational belief that I hold, every value, every purpose? Or am I just getting to the heart of the matter and speaking plainly? Because at the end of the day, that's going to increase listener retention. That's going to increase like the way that people connect to you and to the work that you do. And it's going to increase your sales overall. And I listened to at least a dozen beginnings of podcast episodes, and I did not find one of the list that I actually listened to. Maybe there are other recommendations that I missed that I stuck around for. Because, like, why am I going to let you speak into my life if I don't even want to be here? You know what I'm saying? Again, it's soapboxy. Take what you want with that. But I do think it's really helpful for us to consider. Like, I think that if we want to be leaders in the online spaces and we want to talk about embodying leadership, like, actually last week I shared an office hours episode and I got to consult and hold a strategy session with Leah Fruth. And that was shared last week for episode 49. And we talk about like how to create more compelling and engaging content that speaks to your people, that works within your capacity and that's suited to your skill levels and your communication level and not level, but like preferences, right? Like, I really love audio content. I really love speaking. I really love being candid and raw. And I'm going to be like flamboyant in the way that I move. And I'm going to be a little rambly, but I'm going to always bring it back to that point. I'm going to always find the deeper meaning. I'm going to be hilarious because, my friend, I'm hilarious. Yeah. 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 Anyways, great and funny. Okay. Let's not dwell on that for too long. Nonetheless, if you want some more content around that, I suggest going back to the last episode. But I bring this whole thing up. I bring up this to say that, like, if you're in the content creation space, oh my gosh, wait a second. Remember a couple episodes ago when I was like, my goodness, I'm making myself laugh. I need to take a breath. Like a recentering sip of coffee. Sorry if you have like audio issues and you just heard me slurp that. Also, that coffee was cold and uninspiring. Anyways, what a downer on what I'm about to say. But it's the 50th episode of Voice Memos. A few episodes ago, I was like, I'm going to find a fun way to celebrate it. I sure have not done that. Maybe by the time this episode goes live, because today is Tuesday, it goes live on a Thursday. Maybe I'll find a fun way to celebrate it. Maybe I make a cake. I don't know. I don't know. But I'm pretty proud of myself. Like 50 episodes of content, of education, of soapboxes, of business development and marketing strategy, right alongside biblical discipleship and gospel-centered truth. And it is my hope and my prayer that our conversations, that me getting to share with you in this format has blessed you as much as it has blessed me, because arguably this year has been one of the hardest years of my entire life. Like, so with my parents getting divorced, my parents divorced when I was a young child, and that's very much a part of my testimony, my salvation story, how God brought me to himself. But that was hard. Like, that's traumatic. That's a death of a relationship, and I don't need to explain to you why divorce is hard. Divorce sucks. It sucks. It's hard for literally everybody involved. And now I'm walking through that again as an adult with my parents getting divorced, and that's been hard. And that's truly the tip of the iceberg. It's been like death by 1,000 cuts. You can go back and listen to past episodes to just hear the chaos unfold and me desperately just grasping for joy and fighting for joy amidst such grief and such overwhelm. And it's been a refining year, to say the very least. But I must say that this space, that voice memos, has been such a bright spot to me. It's been one of my favorite things I have done this year. Voice memos started out as a private podcast that was only available to email subscribers. And so, although we have 50 whole episodes on the show, there's not a lot of views and listens that are like I have the stats for because they were all private, right? And so then I switched podcast platforms, and so a lot of my analytics got wiped, which is my bad. Like, I know better than to just move it without taking track of the analytics, so I'm pretty bummed about that. But the reason I made that shift is because it's time to welcome new people into our community. Like, it's time to grow this space in accordance with God's will at whatever speed He's ready for, but I am ready when He's ready. Like, it's been a year of foundation building. It's been a year of refining for me, of understanding who I work with and why I work with them. It kind of comes back to that quantity is a precursor to quality conversation we had a couple episodes back, right? Like, I've put in quantity, and I'm eager and excited to welcome you into this journey for quality. And that's not to say the content that I've created and the work that I've done has not been quality in the past. That's not at all what I'm saying. But I get to continue to refine on this foundation and bring you along. You mean so, so much to me, my friend. So thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't know how I'm going to celebrate. For those of you who are watching the video, and as I can't stop fiddling with my bangs. If you don't know, I cut my bangs. I have it's a whole thing, and I can't stop staring at myself and fiddling with them. So sorry. I'm sorry. That's probably very annoying. Let's bring it back in. I would take a recentering cup of coffee, drink of coffee, sip of coffee. Wow, we got there in the end, but it's cold and I don't want that because, yeah, anyways. And that's the thing about me. My husband always gives me a bad time. Brian always gives me such a bad time about being such a coffee snob. And he's like, you're not even going to drink it if you don't like it. Like, why? If it's not meeting my standards, often I just won't drink it. And it drives him nuts. But I feel like that's good boundaries, right? That's boundaries in real life. Yes, I know it's to my detriment, but here we are. Anyways, with this being the 50th episode, this actually leads me directly into a topic I'm very excited to unpack, and it feels really fitting for episode 50. And we're going to talk about sort of looking ahead. We're going to talk about creating a quarterly plan and how we're all really craving a reset. I know for me, I'm really craving a reset. I sent out an email a couple days ago, maybe a week ago, about some practical ways to deal with that November bleh. I don't know what it is. November starts to feel like the very beginning of winter. It's not really. Winter actually doesn't technically start until close to Christmas, but it's starting to feel winterly, especially around here in the Pacific Northwest. And it's really easy to just kind of get stuck in a rut, to realize some of those habits and routines we really fought for in early fall have started to kind of become jumbled together, and we're not focusing on them in the way that we wanted to or holding tightly to them in the way that we wanted to. And I really believe that November is a good time to kind of intentionally lean into a reset. A lot of my percolator clients and some mentorship clients, people that I've gotten to meet you with for strategy sessions and things, are saying a similar sort of thing of really craving a reset. And so I'm actually working right now on creating a refreshed, even more simplified version of the action planner, because I don't know about you, but my action planner has kind of gotten a little crazy. And the action planner is a free Notion work planner designed to help you plan your day-to-day tasks and prioritize them and actually follow through on them, in addition to content creation and launch planning. And so I'm going to keep those elements, but I have some ways that I have used my own and refined my own that I really want to share with you. And so I'm going to start from scratch for my own use of my own Dusty's version of the action planner template, right? And I'm going to encourage you to come along with me. So I'll be publishing and sharing the new and refined action planner soon. But in the meantime, you can pop on the email list right now and grab the current version, because it's still pretty great. I still love it, and you're going to get all the updates, and I'll teach you how to implement those when they become live. But I say all this to say, now is a good time for a reset. So, think about all of the ways in your day that are just feeling really cluttered. Where are the friction points that you can address right now? Something that I really like to do around this time of year, right before Black Friday, and we get like an crazy amount of promotional emails, is I will archive all of my emails, like everyone. I will just mark them all as unread, literally archive them all, and start with a fresh slate. And then as they come through, as I get a ton of promotional emails that come through, I can start to be more intentional about like unsubscribing to the ones that I don't want anymore, keeping the ones that I do want, and so on and so forth. It's just like the digital clutter takes up like mental clutter in my brain. And I don't know if that's true for you, but I can't imagine I'm the only one that feels that way. And so I hope that's a helpful little tip. But as we're creating our quarterly plan, looking forward, which is actually a lot of the stuff that we're going to focus on for Company Retreat. So Company Retreat is a deep work and a deep rest retreat for the ministry-minded, like gospel-centered business owner, for the author, for the therapist, for the thought leader, to have a space to really do some annual strategic planning, to have some deep rest, some deep community. And so we're going to do all of this on kind of a grander scale at Company Retreat, but as sort of like a pared down version right now for the next 30 days or so. Also, I neglected to say just then that Company Retreat applications are actually open right now to the waitlist. And if you apply now, you're going to save a ton of money. So I highly recommend. But okay, a quarterly plan. So what I really recommend is starting high level and then working your way backwards, right? So we're first going to identify two primary things. We're going to identify your vision and we're going to identify your owner's intent, not just for your business, but for this season of your life. So if you've not already walked through this process and you don't know what those words mean, stick around. I'm going to explain like a high level overview. But if you're ready for more depth, I really, really recommend investing in my strategic plan course called Grounded. So right now it's still available for early access. You'll get the first couple modules right away. And I'm working on getting the rest of that published. And if you enroll now during this early access phase, you're going to save, I want to say it's $200, which is like almost 50%. So I highly, highly recommend grabbing that now. But here's your like high level kind of overview of this, right? So vision is your big picture idea of what is your business doing from an impact focused perspective, right? It's like, how does your business, how does your work benefit and bless your people? And your owner's intent answers the question, what does my business do for me and for my family? What is it practically offering me? And so answering those two questions are really essential when we are looking at creating your quarterly plan or a strategic plan of any kind, because we first need to know, like, how is this going to benefit me? Which is something that a lot of really purpose-driven, impact-focused, Jesus-loving business owners just skip right over, because we're usually not here to earn a ton of money, though money would be nice, yes. But oftentimes the people that I work with tend to, like, their primary focus in working isn't to earn a ton of money, but it's to serve their people. The negative here is like that actually becomes its own stumbling block, its own area of pride, its own sort of misstep, is to miss that piece of like, yes, I'm so grateful you're like digging deeper into your deeper why of like, why are you doing this work? How is it impacting your people? That's beautiful. And I love that about you. And I want you to do that. But I also need you and your family needs you to think about, really practically speaking, what do you need to get out of this business in order for it to really bless you, bless your family, so that you can continue to steward the various callings that God has given you. And one of those is to serve the people whom you intend to serve through your business, right? But it's also to feed your family. And then there's more there. I'm certain of that. So identifying your vision and your owner's intent, you can do that at a high level, but also specifically for right now, it's okay to just look at like the quarter, like as we finish up 2025, or even if you just want to look at the next 4 months, however that looks like. You don't need to look at it from a forever perspective right now for the sake of this exercise, though that is something you should do at some point. For now, it's okay if we're doing it on a smaller scale, right? And then kind of ask yourself some questions. So I'm going to put these questions within the show notes for you to make it a little more simple for you, but you can write them down as you go, pull up your notes app and take notes. But What offerings need to be focused on or created or edited, or like refined, to achieve your vision and your owner's intent? What campaigns, like marketing campaigns, need to be run in order to accomplish these things and reach those goals? And what needs to be set aside in order to be able to put your focus on those aims? Because we talk a lot about boundaries, but we rarely talk about protecting the boundaries and the cost of protecting those kinds of boundaries and what you will inevitably lose or miss out on when you enforce those things. Put another way is that every yes is a silent no to something else. So, but more often than not, you get to be in charge of what are your yeses and what are your nos. You get to choose where you put your focus and what you choose to prioritize. And it is my prayer that you would do that with a lot of discernment and that you would look to Christ himself to direct your focus and your attention, not just in your personal life, but for sure in your business as well. I don't need you to over spiritualize every single decision, but I do need, and because I think sometimes we get ourselves in a space where we're like, sometimes you just got to take messy action, is the point I'm trying to make there, right? Sometimes you just have to take messy action. And like identifying, like, what are the boundaries that need to be in place in order for you to work towards these goals of like bringing your vision and your owner's intent to life for the next few months and focusing on these general aims that you're working towards, like your offering that you're going to be really focusing on in the next few months, or any campaigns that you need to run. Thinking about, okay, so like if I'm going to focus more on selling, or for me, like, let's just use my own example. I'm going to be focusing more on finishing up Grounded and completing all of that course content and making it available to you so that I can start to do a big launch campaign and get that in the ears of more people, because I know more Christian entrepreneurs need a stronger understanding of how to run a business and how to create a strategic plan, because otherwise we're out here serving at the expense of ourselves and our family, and that is not fruitful for anybody in the end. And a strategic plan allows you the space to protect exactly those efforts. It's like what I was talking about just a second ago about, we talk about boundaries, but we rarely talk about like the fallout that is going to inevitably happen, negative or not, when we pick one thing over the other thing. Like every yes is a no to something else. Yeah. And your strategic plan helps you to put your eyes on, okay, these are my priorities. These are my focuses for X period of time. And these aren't. These are going to be put on the back burner. And for the creative Christian entrepreneur, it's, and especially if you're neurodivergent like myself, like the ADHD, or everything feels urgent, everything feels important. And it's really hard to, in real time, understand what needs my priority for second, third. But if I'm careful about it, if I take the time to make a plan, then in those frantic moments, or in those moments where everything is vying for our attention, neurodivergent or not, we know where to take the next step and where to take the next step. And when it is time to pivot, we have a lot more clarity around what kinds of pivots need to happen. And so my challenge for you, and what I hope you get out of this episode, is that you would take a little bit of time to yourself to identify a few things. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what I hope you're able to get to work doing to set yourself up for success so that you can fuel the kind of kingdom impact you're hoping to impart in the world and steward these various callings and gifts that God's blessed you with without sacrificing your mental health, without like pouring out all of yourself so that you're feeling depleted and weary all the time, right? So I want you to first identify your owner's intent. That's the practical reason you started your business. Like, why, how is this business going to serve you? How is it going to serve your family, practically speaking? Your vision is that impact focused reason. It's not usually something that you can actually attain, but it's something that you're looking towards, that you're constantly working towards. The very impact, missional, purpose-driven reason you're doing the work that you're doing. And then from that place, ask yourself these questions. What offering or product should you be focusing on right now in order to achieve both your owner's intent and your vision for this season of your life? What marketing or launch campaigns need to be run. And how can you run those in a way that's in alignment with your capacity, in alignment with your skill sets? Like we talked about at the top of the show, like believe it or not, I actually created an outline for this chaotic episode because that cold open and this idea of like grabbing people's attention matters so, so much when we get down to the nitty gritty of bringing our owner's intent and our vision to life through our work. Like it's important that we have an understanding about what kinds of content feels engaging and what kinds of content is not engaging, and that we pivot and that we experiment and that we play and that we find ways to bring joy to that process for us, the business owner. Because when we are having fun, when we are enjoying that process, it's going to be received better. Like the fact of the matter is, and I think I said this in the last episode, but the fact of the matter is, if you're leading from a place of forced obligation and you're kind of like, ugh, I have to create more Instagram content, or ugh, I have to like get this post out because I said that I would. Like, I don't want to read that post. I want to read the thing that you're really fired up about. I want to read the thing that lights you up, that you're excited about, the thing that you could like just rabbit trail squirrel talk on forever and lose yourself in that topic. That is what I want to hear from you. That's what I want to learn from you. That's how I want to be supported and encouraged and challenged and delighted and intrigued by you, my sweet friend. Take a deep breath with me. We covered a lot of content. I'm getting a little heated. I hope that you're seeing the through line here of some actionable steps that you can take right now to be able to fuel the kind of kingdom impact and create the kind of content and embody the kind of leadership that God has called you to embody in the various aspects of your life in a way that brings you a lot of joy, that's really effective for people and really resonates with people, but is true to who you are, true to who God made you to be. And on that note, it's almost like I plan this. I'm actually going to be leaning more into podcasting. And I'm like so excited. Several episodes back, I started sharing about my Instagram exit strategy, and it was kind of half-baked at the time. I have learned so much more between now and then. And I wouldn't say learned as so much as like uncovered or discovered about like, where are my priorities? I think a lot of times we tend to, these bangs, man. My goodness. Okay. A lot of times the answer we need is staring us in the face. Like in Grease, when she was like, if it's a snake, it would have bitten you. I love Grease. Fun fact about Dusty, when I was a baby, I had to watch Grease every night before bed. It was like my calm down. Now, as a 32-year-old mom of 3, I'm realizing how incredibly inappropriate that was for a child to be watching. But also at the same time, like, I'm so sad my kids don't know every single line from Grease verbatim. Like, I was actually not allowed to listen to it anymore when I said bite the weenie to, I'm pretty sure, my dad. And then I wasn't allowed to watch it for years. And those are some of the darkest years of my entire life. Anyways, I totally lost my train of thought because I would prefer to watch Grease. I brought it back, guys. I brought it back. Basically, this Instagram extra strategy is kind of manifesting itself in that I'm going to be leaning more into voice memos from Dusty and more into my podcast with Christina, the Christina and Dusty Show. Because creating content in this format is fun for me. They're not always this chaotic and energetic, but it is fun for me. I love to speak. I love to talk to people. I love to be able to educate and entertain and laugh and create this kind of relationship that you and I get to share that's very unique to a podcasting type platform. And then from that place, from this anchor content, so to speak, I'll pull out some short form content for other spaces like Instagram, for example. So I'm not going to be leaving that platform altogether, but it's also kind of being decentralized from my main priority. And I'm pretty committed to sharing that with you guys and showing you this kind of messy journey, however rambly, however much I get it wrong, even though sometimes we know, I think that's probably one of the hardest. Yeah, it's one of the most difficult things for me is like, I understand what the good version looks like, or like the like perfect quote unquote version. Like, what needs to happen from an SEO perspective. Like I understand what needs to happen from a design perspective and from a copy perspective, but I am not able to do that on my own out of the gate. And also, I think there's a lot of like learning and process and building in public that has to happen in order to kind of land on what suits you best. And I'm for sure living that out in my own life right now. Like I've talked about that. It's clearly been a theme for me. We talked about that when we talked about that quantity and quality conversation in the last office hours episodes, in the episode a few episodes back about like sort of my Instagram Instagram exit strategy. And so I guess I say all that to say I'm really, really excited and I'm really eager to be leaning into the podcast more. And actually, it would mean a great, great deal to me if you would reach out to me, whether it's DMs on Instagram, if it's a comment on Substack, that would be my preferred place, or message me over on Substack. And let me know, like, what is something that you really enjoy about voice memos and what is something that you would like to hear more of? You don't have to do both. You can do or. Something that you would like to hear more of would be so helpful. Something I'm looking forward to in the coming weeks is to bring on more guests on the show. So I'm still going to keep this monologue format where you and I get to have like a candid, raw voice memos kind of chat, because that's the heart of this podcast. But I'm going to bring on a series, kind of like office hours, a series of some specially curated guests, men and women who I think can really add to our conversation about what does it mean to pursue business development and biblical discipleship simultaneously? What does it mean to practice intentionality and surrender? How can we focus deeper on our foundations and not get so distracted by the flourishes, and kind of carrying out some of these really important conversations that I love having with you, and I have loved getting to like learn with you in public, and well, for a long time private, right? And now in public, but it still feels private in that, like, in my mind, it's just me and you, like we're just chatting, right? So I guess all that to say, thank you for going on this journey with me for this episode. I hope that what I shared about kind of creating a simplified but effective quarterly plan is really helpful. And if that's something that you want to dive into even deeper, that is exactly what I help people with. So there's a few ways you can dive deeper into that strategic plan. We can go on a one-on-one strategy session where it's like a 90 minutes of focused, practical very solution-focused work we get to do together, kind of give you a plan to move forward. Grounded is a really great option if you kind of want to DIY it and you need some space to go through all of this content and wrestle with these ideas, to take some time to explore what is your vision and what is your offer ecosystem and how can you pull all of these pieces together and create an online community in a way that does exactly like I was saying, like that is in alignment with your capacity and your calling. And that's fun for you, right? And company retreat. Company retreat is going to be kind of like an annual sort of strategic planning event where we get to be immersed in deep work, where we're going to actually implement a lot of stuff. You're going to gain traction there, and you're also going to get so much deep rest, so much play, so much laughter, so much just exploring the Oregon coast. And that's why I chose the Oregon coast, because it's that beautiful in between, in my opinion, of a space that is beautiful, stunning and gorgeous and fun to explore, but it's not like a tourist hotspot, and it won't pull our distractions so much so that we neglect to do the fun work that we want to do. Because when I got to go on a writer's retreat in Edinburgh, in Scotland, it was so much fun. I loved it. But I didn't get very much writing done because I was so excited to be in Edinburgh and I wanted to explore the city and I wanted to go see all the sights. And so I don't regret it even for a second. So happy I did it. But I do want company retreat to be a place of like actual implementation, of actually gaining momentum in your work and actually still getting that really deep rest, that beautiful kind of unicorn between the two. So applications for that are open. Thanks for hanging out with me. I cannot wait to hear what you have loved about voice memos and what you want to hear more of, so that I can make sure and focus in more on those things, because at the end of the day, I'm doing this for you. Like, you mean so much to me, and it is my my core mission, my vision is to equip you to fuel the kind of kingdom impact that God has called you to create without sacrificing your mental health and your core values at this like altar of quote unquote success. Like to be able to build something with intentionality and surrender. And everything that I do at its core is for you to be able to do exactly that. So I would love your input. I would love to hear what you're loving and what you would like to hear more of. But that's all. That's all I have for today. I can't wait to hang out with you next week for episode 51. Okay, talk soon. Bye.